You ever try to staple jello to the ceiling? Well, Judge Xinis today, addressing the Department of Justice, said that's what she felt like because she was getting frustrated by not getting answers out of the Department of Justice, straight answers that made any sense, that weren't quote unquote illogical about the Abrego Garcia case. She still holds jurisdiction over Abrego Garcia. You remember him. He was the guy from Maryland that got kidnapped in the middle of the night, thrown on a plane with 200 other people, and sent to a supermax prison in El Salvador without any rights or due process. That sounds wrong, doesn't it? The Supreme Court said, bring him back. And the Supreme Court said, and this was important for today's hearing, the Supreme Court said he should be put back in the same position he was in before deportation. Well, the position he was in before deportation, as Judge Xinis pointed out, was not facing criminal charges and sitting in federal detention in Tennessee. And she said at one point, getting frustrated, I feel like I'm stapling jello to the ceiling and I'm not getting straight answers out of the Department of Justice. She said most of the responses I'm getting are illogical or inconsistent with other positions that have been taken by other lawyers in front of her. I'm Michael Popok. This is Legal AF, where we speak truth to each other and don't blow smoke or sunshine. Nothing's behind a paywall. It's free subscribe. That helps the show. Let's talk about the hearing today. The government, Department of Justice under Donald Trump, tried to delay the hearing. Of course they did. This hearing was about a lot of things. Motions to dismiss by the Trump administration because they don't want to have a case, and a contempt order coming down the road at them because they said, see, Judge, you ordered us to bring him back, and we brought him back. And she said, wait a minute. I had lawyers in this courtroom from the Department of Justice who told me under no uncertain terms they could not bring back Abrego Garcia, that the U.S. government was not going to bring him back. And 6 days later, after a hearing, you brought him back. Now, did you bring him back, she said, in questioning closely the Department of Justice lawyers, did you bring him back under indictment? Because that was the key to unlock the door to get him released from El Salvador. They said, well, not really. They said, well, let me get to the bottom of this. Are you going to have the trial in Tennessee, which we know is BS, bullshit, and fabricated? Are you going to have that trial? Or are you going to, as soon as he's popped out of federal detention on the criminal side of the case on the 16th of July, are you just going to remove him to another country not named El Salvador? And they said, which is now the fourth flip-flop in this case, that they're going to remove him before any criminal trial, which only reinforces they've effectively admitted that the criminal trial, the indictment, is not worth the paper. It's not worth the paper it's written on, that it was fabricated, that they don't believe in that case because they're not even going to try it. So they got a magistrate judge in Tennessee that placed Abrego Garcia in effectively federal witness protection, in witness protection, or in plaintiff protection, in federal detention under the federal marshal to protect him from the Trump administration. Because she said, if I immediately release him, he's going to be sucked up into the world of immigration removal. And even the Trump administration was like, well, we're not going to make an error twice. We're not sure we can guarantee it, Judge. We're okay if you keep him in detention for another 2 weeks. Like, what? So even in court today, a lawyer for the Department of Justice said exactly the same thing that a prior Department of Justice lawyer said back in April, where he committed the crime, apparently, under Pam Bondi of the Department of Justice, of telling the truth to a federal judge. And he said to her in response that Mr. Abrego Garcia should not have been deported and removed to El Salvador because he had an order of protection and non-removal in his back pocket from an immigration judge that said he was not supposed to go to El Salvador, and that it was an error that he was sent there. It was illegal. And that same comment, illegal removal, got picked up by the United States Supreme Court that supported it in its fact recitation and the rest. Well, you know what one of the Department of Justice lawyers said today in front of Judge Xinis? He said it was an error, and it's an error we don't intend to make twice. She said, wait a minute, that's completely inconsistent with things that the administration has said. Christine Noem has said that it wasn't an error. Stephen Miller, who's basically the head of Homeland Security from his perch as the deputy White House chief of staff, has said it wasn't an error. Pam Bondi said it's not an error, we'll never see him again. And now you come in here and illogically tell me that which you said you could not do, you actually did in bringing him back to the United States. And what she's trying to get to the bottom of in this hearing is whether she's going to continue to exert jurisdiction to protect Abrego Garcia from the Trump administration. We all know that she should. We have a federal magistrate judge that sort of has run her race and has run out a road in protecting Abrego Garcia. It ends on July 16th, her ability to be able to keep him in federal detention, to stop him from being removed, which is where Judge Xinis needs to come in. And now they've basically given Judge Xinis the grounds to exert jurisdiction. They now have flip-flopped, as I said, for the fourth time and have said, first they said, we're going to remove him, but we're not going to try the case. And then they said, no, we're going to try the case, but we're not going to remove him. And now they're back to, no, we're going to remove him and we're not going to try the case. And that's when she said, stop. Your motion to dismiss is denied. I still think it's important that even though you brought him back, you did not apparently bring him back pursuant to my order or bring him back pursuant to the United States Supreme Court. I also, she said in the hearing, I also take note that the Supreme Court said that one of my responsibilities as a federal judge in this case is to ensure that he is put back in the position before he was removed. And he wasn't in the position of sitting in detention in Tennessee before he was removed. That's not the status quo. So I'm going to get to the bottom of that. And she's taken it under advisement, but I can tell you from the reporting in the room, I believe the following is going to happen. She's going to say she continues to have jurisdiction over the case. She's going to order Abrego Garcia out of federal detention in Tennessee and brought into federal detention in Maryland while she continues to consider the matter. And until she does that on her own timetable, she is not going to allow the Trump administration and not going to take their promise in court, their Boy Scout promise with their fingers crossed behind their back, not to remove and deport him. Because they already admitted it was an error. We're just not going to do it twice, Your Honor. Really? How many other Abrego Garcias have been removed illegally when they shouldn't have been? We've covered a half a dozen of them here on Legal AF. There is no credibility for the Department of Justice under Donald Trump whenever they speak in court. And so this is what she's getting to the bottom of. And while that was going on inside the courtroom, and a protest, a counter-protest led by CASA and the family of Abrego Garcia. Remember, he's married to a U.S. citizen. He has two special needs children who are both U.S. citizens, was going on outside. Let's run the clip.
Smear campaign against him. We will turn our backs on him and his family. No. They thought that once they brought him back to face baseless criminal charges, we would leave his side. No. As they plotted, delayed, deceived us every single day, they thought that we, the people, would give up. No. But they were wrong, weren't they? That's right. They were wrong. That's right. That's right. For over 3 months, we have shown up, rain or shine. From El Salvador to Maryland to Tennessee and across the world, we have shown up to send a strong message that immigrant lives matter. Yes. Black and brown lives matter. Yes. Due process matters. Yes. Our civil rights matter. And we will not let the Trump administration tell us otherwise. Yes. Make no mistake, Kilmer is back on U.S. soil because of us. Because of you and me and our power to fight and fight back. And you know what? The fight continues. We will raise our voices louder, fight back harder, and demand justice for Kilmer and all the Kilmers out there. The administration must release Kilmer back to his home right here in Maryland. Take accountability for its heinous actions and end its assault on our immigrant communities once and for all. That is what justice looks like. And we will not stop fighting until we get it. We will continue to show up. We will continue to bear witness. And we will continue to tell Kilmer's story. Because his story is our story. We are all Kilmer. 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 Todos somos Kilmer.
Okay, She's going to find she has jurisdiction. She's going to allow the other side, the Abrego Garcia side, to pursue their contempt motions. And she's going to determine that, I believe, that to be consistent with the Supreme Court's ruling and direction to her, when they return the case to her on a remand, with a mandate that she has to take possession of him, put him in federal detention in Maryland while she considers the issue. And then when she is done, now that the Trump administration says we're going to basically drop the indictment against him for human smuggling, which was a ridiculous off a traffic stop from 3 years ago that even the state troopers didn't write him a ticket for, that they've admitted that is bullshit, that they're abandoning that. And now she's just got to focus on they're going to remove him and send him out of the country away from his family at any moment. And that's inconsistent with what the Supreme Court said about habeas corpus and due process. So we'll follow. We'll get a quick ruling out of her. She moves quickly. She's told these lawyers in the past, I am not sleeping on this case, and you shouldn't expect to sleep either. And I expect her to make a relatively fast ruling on this. In the meantime, where is Abrego Garcia? He is still in Tennessee. But as we get closer to July 16th, this is going to put a lot of pressure on Judge Xinis to rule. And finally, as we're looking at all these things, I do want to note that Trump and the DOJ have trotted out a whole new set of lawyers. The lawyer that was missing from the room was a lawyer, Drew Ensign, who was thrown under the bus in a whistleblower complaint by a guy named Erez Ruvini, who used to be the guy arguing for this case, who told Judge Xinis at the very beginning that the removal of Abrego Garcia to El Salvador was illegal and that he had encouraged his client to bring him back. And that guy was promptly suspended and fired. And now prepared a 27-page whistleblower complaint against people like Drew Ensign. And Drew Ensign was nowhere to be found in the courtroom today. They trotted out a whole new set of lawyers. And that was noted by Judge Xinis as well. I'll continue to follow it all right here on Legal AF. Take a moment, hit the free subscribe button, help us continue to grow this channel. Until my next hot take while I'm on the road, this is Michael Popok. I'm Michael Popok, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touch's Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popok Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popok Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popok Firm today at 1-877-POPOK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopokfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popok Firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.